Hey RCC, welcome to week 5 of our Mission and Vision series, The Journey. This week we're closing out our series by talking about our 4th and final discipleship pathway. Throughout the entire series, we've said we exist to invite people to journey with Jesus. That's our big white hot passion why. Now the how or the what is our discipleship pathway, right? And so we have said that the faith journey is not linear, it's circular, right? And so anybody can jump on the pathway at any time. And today we're closing out our series by talking about our discipleship value called Journey Out. And the reason why this is a value to us at RCC and we think a value to Jesus is because when we journey out, we're invited to care and love where we live, but also to explore our world. I love to travel. I remember during my college years in my 20s, taking every summer to do an internship as far away from home as possible. I wanted to get experience in all different kinds of contexts, and so I worked on the West Coast, the East Coast, big churches, small churches, and medium-sized churches. I had the opportunity to live near Seattle, Chicago, Brooklyn, New York, which was a blast, and of course, who could forget the epicenter of progressive culture, Newport News, Virginia, right? And throughout my years, I learned a few life hacks when traveling, especially flying. And you guys probably fly a lot. So if you have greater life hacks, share them with me, share them with your life group. Travel hack 1 would be to book really early on the cheap, because if you book really early, you can select your seat, buy the chair that is supposed to help people if the plane goes down. All you have to do is say you're willing to do that, and you get instant access to better legroom. Now, whether you want to help people or not, that's up to you. The second hack is to download music and movies and TV shows ahead of time. I didn't know this when I first started to travel, so I had to memorize like the safety, pamphlet magazine that they give you in case the plane goes down. Now, here's the third life hack the traveling hack that I don't understand why people don't do this. The people that get first class or the group right behind first class, for some reason, they check in as soon as they're invited to check in. And I kind of go to onboard this flight, like it's going to take 30 to 45 minutes to do that. Why in the world do people want to check in right away and sit down for like another 45 minutes? It just did not make sense. So the hack that I discovered is get the preferable seat that you want to sit in, and then wait till the very end to sit down, because then everyone's already sat down. You can sit down and the plane can take off and go. And for me, it's worth checking in a bag so I don't have to fight for overhead space, because I'm one of the last people to check in on the plane. So I don't know if that's helpful to you or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But part of our faith journey is about journeying out. It starts where we live, but it also invites us to explore our world. I want you to take a few minutes to watch a story of 2 of our students, brothers, that are actually going to travel and journey out to serve in El Salvador this very summer. So check this out.
My name is Ben and I'm 13. My name is Owen LaGrasse and I'm 11. Ever since I was little, I wanted to travel out of the country and go help other people, but also just getting a different perspective on how God works. And I wanted to go because I wanted to help the people in there and be exposed to a new language. We're preparing to go on this trip by doing a fundraiser, by painting banks that will be filled with change, and we can cash them in. And we're also praying and stuff. We're gonna go to Berea, but we couldn't because we had to save up for El Salvador, and that's one of the things we had to give up. If you're worrying about financial stuff, if God really wants you to go, He'll provide the money for you, so don't worry about that. And I say you should just pray about it and try to find an answer in what you do and in your life, and God will give you an answer, whether it's yes or no, and you should jump out on faith, because it's a journey of faith.
Isn't that a great story? I'm so grateful for those boys willing to share their story and their desire to journey out. One of the things that I love about the heart of God, it's a simple verse. We probably all know it, or at least heard it. If we've seen it, if we watch ESPN and sporting events, it's John 3:16, right? And in John 3:16, John says, "For God so loved the world that he sent his one and only Son." That even though we messed up the creation, we've walked away from God, God looked at humanity and said, I want to move towards them. I want to help them. I want to redeem them. I want to restore all things back to the way it was when I was with Adam and Eve in the garden. Like, the heart of the gospel is an invitation to be sent out, not an invitation to kind of have a holy huddle in our church and then never do anything in our community, never do anything on a global aspect. I'm just curious, how many of you have you ever been on a mission trip? And for some of us, for a while, me included, it took a while for God to work on my heart, because I get very uncomfortable traveling to other countries when it's a mission trip, because there's so many variables that could go wrong. I've heard folks in different churches that would say, well, I'm probably too old to go on a mission trip, or I'm probably too old to serve in my community. Why can't I just write a check and do that? Or maybe there's some of you parents that have had students that would say, I want to go to a third world country and serve Jesus. And you're like, okay, wait a minute, let's pump the brakes. Let's do that when you're older. But time and time again, when you read the Gospels and you read the narrative and the story of the Bible, it talks about a God that was sent. And the early church, right? The early church is comprised of the sent out ones. We're called to send out and make an impact. Like, Salem and the surrounding communities should be better off because of RCC and the churches in our community, because they are journeying out and they are making an impact. So much so that churches in Salem, if they were to shut down, it should be felt in our community. Now, serving our community is not our identity. It's Jesus. It's inviting people to journey with Jesus. But one of our immediate values as a church is that we love where we live. We represent Christ where we live. And also, this other tension that we're holding in our hands is that we would journey out and explore our world. So as important as it is to journey toward Jesus and to be baptized, to be in a life group, to serve on the weekends, to give, it is equally important to love where we live and also to serve our community and explore our world. So let me give you a little nudge, a little challenge. Would you prayerfully consider what it might look for you to begin to journey out over the next year? Maybe that's partnering with us as we serve our community through our different events. Maybe that looks like begin praying about, God, I'm not really open to the idea of going on a mission trip where I'm not in control in a third world country, but I am open to at least communicate that to you and invite you to maybe help me process that, and maybe even over time change my heart and desire and my mind about this idea of leaving the comfort of home and exploring my world and affecting change clear across the country. A journey out is a challenging value, because it invites us to get off of our seat and to put into practice what we know and love about Jesus in the faces of the people that we interact with every day, as well as an opportunity to serve our world. So I hope and pray that you guys have a great discussion as we close our series, The Journey, this week. God bless.